I've also sent the request to you to start the recording on your end because you're now the host.
All right, okay. Do I have to still record it from my hand? To click from my
Yes,
hand?
you need to click on it from your end now.
Yes, I did. I click on it. You signed it and I click.
Okay. The
Mm.
yes, it's now recording. That's
All
correct.
right. Mm.
Okay. So you'll kindly excuse me as I'll let you proceed, inshallah.
It's okay, no problem, inshallah. Barakallah feek.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. There are students, can you all hear me? If you can hear me, please do let me know. And you can use your mic because part of the session is going to be interactive enough, inshallah. So if you can hear me, please use your mic and just say yes before we proceed with Allah Ta'ala.
Emma needs stuff in support. Emma can stuff. Nine steps in stuff. Eight. Steps in stuff 26. Emma Capia combine.
Okay, we are going to start right away with Allah Ta'ala. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وحده وصلاة وسلاما على من لا نبي بعد. All praise is due to Allah alone. May His blessings and peace be upon the final prophet Muhammad, his household and his companions and those who will follow them in truth to the day of Qiyamah. After this, I warmly welcome you all to this short academic training session titled Academic Skills Training for High Performance Learning. And they will be looking at two skills basically, reading technique and question comprehension procedures. Before delving into the key content of this session, it is important to first clarify what is meant by academic skills training. Academic skills training has a broader scope than the basic study skills that you might have been hearing of before now. The academic skills training involves structured activities, tips, and guidance aimed at developing the essential competencies for needed for students to succeed in academic environment. The main emphasis of academic skills training is on how to sustain excellence in both learning input and output. I'm going to say this again. The main emphasis of academic skills training is on how to sustain excellence in both learning input and output. All right. In this context, the specific aim of this session is to equip IOU students with two of such academic skills that enhance high performance learning. And I hope you find this session engaging, purposeful, and beneficial as we go into it together. I want all of you to please mute yourself. If I need you to talk, then I will tell you to unmute yourself so that the whole session will be very smooth. All right. Having said that, we need to now go to the next slide where we will be looking at the focus scopes of this session. The first part of it, we're going to talk about the introduction, where we'll dedicate the part to higher performance learning. We'll be talking about higher performance learning. Then thereafter, We'll talk about effective reading techniques. Then lastly, we talk about question comprehension procedures plus sample questions. That is where I need the engagement of the student. And lastly, we will just do summary of the whole short session and have question and answer if there is going to be any. Now we're going to look at the first part of it, which is the introduction. Where we're looking at higher performance learning. Academic competence in high grades serve as complementary yet sequential indicators of a higher performance learning. The former, which is academic competence, constitute the essential input of the learning process, while the latter, which is higher grade, represents its expected performance output. Without academic competence as a foundation, the pursuit of high or higher grades becomes fundamentally unattainable. Nevertheless, for multiple contextual and procedural reasons, the strength or weakness of the learning input cannot always be accurately inferred from the summative performance. High grades, for instance, may not constitute reliable evidence of academic competence because in some cases, such grade may be influenced by inadequate proctoring. It might be influenced by undetected academic dishonesty, especially AI-assisted cheating. And it can also be influenced by rubric non-compliance on the part of the examiners. The main point of this introduction regarding higher performance learning is that when the relevant contextual and procedural conditions are properly observed, high or higher grades can be regarded as a valid reflection of academic competence. Having established that academic competence and high grades are what you require for actualizing higher performance in your learning journey, we will now learn in the next two slides how to achieve academic competence and higher grades through essential simple skills. And the first of these I'm going to look at is the issue of effective reading techniques. So we can go to the next slide to learn about effective reading techniques. To achieve academic competence, which is a sub goal, you only need one core skill, and that is effective reading techniques. Unfortunately, a lot of students do not know how to read effectively. They often read mechanically. However, the effective reading technique that is guided by the Quran and Sunnah is what I call the mindful reading. So when you want to read, you must read mindfully, all right, intentionally. So the right way to read is through the method that is called mindful reading. So this is one of the skills you are going to acquire in this. I'm going to teach you here in this very session. But at the end of the day, if you are able to cultivate, the skills, if you're able to cultivate them after learning them in this session, then it will go a long way in shaping your life throughout your academic journey in IOU or elsewhere. And it's going to make you to be a mindful reader without doubt. And I realize that a lot of people are still they still continue to talk while in the session. Please, when you enter the session, Newly, make sure you mute yourself so that we have a smooth training session for Allah's sake. All right, so what I said so far here is that effective reading techniques is called mindful reading. This is the skill. If you want to be a good student or a good reader of any content, you must be a mindful reader. The skill you need is mindful reading. And the techniques of reading through these mindful reading process is called are based upon two core commitments. So if you want to achieve mindful reading, you require two commitments on your side. Number one is what I call al-faham. And in Arabic, al-faham means correct understanding. So you require al-faham, correct understanding of what you are reading. Al-faham, which is a correct understanding, requires two basic tasks that you must pay attention to when you are reading any content or you are watching any content. Maybe you are reading it, or you are watching it, or you are listening to any content. If you want to have a correct understanding of it, then you have to do two basic tasks. The first of it is accurate conception of the content. This is where you understand clearly the content of what you are reading, whether the content is in the form of a concept, principle, theory, and so on. So when you do this accurate conception of the whole content, then you are good to go. Another important task you need to pay attention to under the first commitment, which is faham, is attention to details. You must pay attention to details. This means you are not to overlook any semantic qualifiers, conditions, or distinctions. So this is very important. I realize within my few years of being lecturers and engaging students, I realize a lot of people don't know how to read. They have problem with these two tasks. The first is they lack accurate conception of what they read. And number two, if they try to understand it, to have the accurate conception, they don't pay attention to details. And I want to believe that because of the social media age, that we have a lot of people lack concentration a lot. And if you lack concentration, you can't pay attention to details. A lot of students don't want to spend quality time on reading any content. When they open a page, they just want to go through the page, just brush through it, just like they are browsing the internet, just flip over it and move ahead. At the end of the day, they miss a question in a particular quiz. They will say it's not in the textbook. Then we have to tell them, go back to page so, read so line. Say, I read it. Then go back and read again. So this is the core problem here. So the first commitment you have to put into practice when you want to achieve mindful reading, which is the core skills you need, is that you must understand what you are reading. And you cannot understand what you are reading until you are able to incorporate these two tasks. The first is accurate conception, where you need to understand all the content you are reading clearly. And I've said maybe it's a concept, it's a theory, principle, and other part of it. The second task you need to also take note of is paying attention to details. If you are able to achieve the first one, the first commitment, which is al-faham, then you are good to go to take up the second task, which is al-istifham al-idraki. Al-istifham al-idraki. Al-istifham al-idraki can be translated to mean critical interrogation. Critical interrogation. What do you do here? In istifham al-idraki, the student need to engage the information they have understood through accurate conception and paying attention to detail critically. The way you do this is by reflective questioning, primarily using these two articles, why and how. Anytime you are reading and you want to have the mindful reading of what you are reading in a comprehensive manner, you must do the istifham al-idraki, the critical interrogation, using why and how. As for other interrogatives, such as what, where, and others, they are non-critical because they retrieve rather than interrogate. As for the questions about what, where, when, these are basically to recall information. They are not there to improve your critical thinking. And at the university level, one of the core learning outcomes, or the dimension of the learning outcomes, is that you must be a critical thinker. So you cannot be a critical thinker except through questioning how and why. You must always use the how and why question every time. So these two commitments are very important when you are reading. The first is al-faham, correct understanding, and the second is al-istifham al-idraki, which is critical interrogation, as I've mentioned. It is important to state here that if you are having any challenge to understand any part of the module content, or you are unable to get convincing answer to those critical interrogations you have done while you're reading, you should consult your lecturer through any of the avenues, especially the Ask the Teacher forum or WhatsApp, for guidance and clarification. This is because it is your right as an IOU student to get clarification and guidance from your lecturers. So the point here, the summary of this first skill I'm sharing with you, which is about effective reading techniques, which I said the skill is called mindful reading, not mechanical reading. So the qira'atu aqliya, the mindful reading, requires dua commitment. The first is faham, correct understanding, and the second is al-istifham al-idraki, critical interrogation when you are reading. So when you reflect in your reading with wow and how, you are going to understand the content better than just banking the information, in your mind. You can actually have understanding of what you are reading at the surface level. If you apply only the first commitment, you will have accurate conception of what you have read. You pay attention to details in such a way that if you are asked in exams or through or quiz or whatever, you can be able to provide the right answer. But however, if you don't apply the istifham idraki, the critical interrogation task, is not going to make you learn beyond what you have read, and it's not going to make you think outside the box. If you want to think outside the box, then you must uphold the second task as well, which is al-istifham al-idraki. In summary, you cannot achieve mindful reading as a student except through dua commitment. The first is al-faham, and the second is al-istifham al-idraki. The first mean correct understanding, and the second is critical interrogation. And I said lastly that you should always consult your lecturer if you have difficulty understanding anything, or during your personal engagement with the content where you have reflectively question some of the content through wow and how, and you cannot get any accurate or convincing response, to that, then what you need to do is to get your lecturer to consult your lecturer, because it is your right. So having done with this first skill, we are going to go to the second one. Who is this person, Abubakar Iyad, that is writing on my slide? For God's sake, you are a university student. Who is doing this? For God's sake, we are in a
Dear,
learning session and somebody is doing this.
dear students, you all are requested to maintain the decorum. This session is for all of you. Please, we
All right.
specifically hosted this session on Zoom so that we can have an interactive session. It is not meant for these activities. Please.
All right, thank you, Sister Hajara, Barakallah Fik. But we expect you student, university student, for God's sake, as said by Sister Hajara, decorum is actually very important. And I can understand that some of you might not even know how to use some of these tools. You just pick up that and you start, making lines on my slide. And of course, that might be a mistake on your head, but please, you should learn at least some basic skills when you are getting to participate in online session like this. All right, I'm done with the first skills I want to share with you, which is about mindful reading. And I said require dual commitment, as I've said, correct understanding and a critical interrogation. So we go to the second skills I want to share with you today about as well. All right, regarding this one, this is about question comprehension, techniques or procedures. As for high grades, you only need one skill as well. For academic competence, you remember you require one skill, that is mindful reading, which is the learning input. Then as for high grades, which is part of the higher learning performance, which is the second part of it, which is the learning output, which is the learning output. You require one skill as well, and that is question comprehension techniques. The assessment questions students are tested on take the form of quizzes, exams, or assignments. And whether a question is recall or critical in nature, two simple techniques are sufficient to comprehend the demand of a question. And this is where a lot of students have a problem, seriously. Why a lot of students are very good in reading, they might possess the reading technique, the effective reading technique in terms of the mindful reading. They used to have challenge when it comes to comprehending the question they are asked. And this is simple, inshallah. Just as you require dual commitment in respect to mindful reading, you require dual procedures to understand and comprehend clearly the demand of a question. The demand of a question. The demand of a question. Every question has a demand. The first thing you need to do is to decode the task. It might be single, task, or more than one. This means you have to pay a close attention to identify correctly what exactly needs to be done. What exactly needs to be done? If you can decode the task, this will help you clarify the nature of the task, the expected output, and the actions required. In other words, what this is asking is, what is the specific task you are requested to do? This is the first procedure. Before you answer any question, maybe is a quiz assignment question where you have to write essay assignment on, or your essay research paper on, or is during the exam, especially the part B, the OEQ's part, you must learn to decode the task. So you always ask yourself, what is the specific task I'm requested, or what is the demand of this question? So you need to decode the task. For you to comprehend the demand of the question, the first thing you need to do is to decode the specific task. Specific task. And I'm saying this again. What is the specific task? You are being asked to do. And a lot of people, in fact, when we grade students' assignment, or we grade students part B, you ask students question that has to do with this, then maybe the question is going to the east. The student will answer you in a manner that is going to the west. And in most cases, the responses are highly irrelevant. And if some of them are partially relevant to the theme of the question, it is not addressing the specific task, all right, that the question demands from the student. So this is one of the challenge a lot of students face. So you must learn to decode the task you're asked to do. That's the first procedure. The second one, having, when you are done with, having, making effort to decode the task, the next procedure is to determine the extent and depth of the question you have been asked. I think somebody is still writing again on my screen. Allahu Musta'an. All right. The second one is to determine the required extent or depth of the question. What this means is that you have to specify how far to go in executing the task that you have successfully decoded. It clarifies the scope, level of detail, the rigor, or breadth required. In other words, what this is doing is asking you to what degree should the task be accomplished. The first one is to decode the task. This Abu Bakr is still writing on my screen. It's okay. The second is to determine the required extent or depth. As I've explained, it's for you to know what degree should the task be accomplished. Sometimes the depth of the question might be explicitly asked by the examiner. It might be explicitly stated. If not, it must be inferred by the student from the very context of the question itself. With these two steps, your answer to any question you are asked is more likely to be contextually correct and comprehensive, provided you have proficiency of the domain knowledge. Meaning, because this answering of question is the learning output, you can't do well until the learning input is actually okay. If your learning input is effective, which is you are able to incorporate the two commitments while reading, when you are tested based on that very content, you are likely to give the right answer if you can uphold the dua procedures that are required of you while trying to comprehend the question you are asked. Now, before we go to the summary and the question and answer, I want to have a quick sample questions where I need the participation of the students here. I'm going to display a question, and I want somebody to volunteer by telling astrology, star divination is haram, and a kufru, which is disbelief. Some so-called Muslim, you see, in quotes, Muslim astrologers try to make it look acceptable. I lied and briefly discuss the main clause they add to their claim to make it seem permissible. Is there anybody here who can tell me the demand of this question here? If anybody is, you can just open your mic and talk. You can take your time, look at it. Is there anybody who can tell me what is the required of student to provide of response, while dealing with this type of question? Can you tell me can you decode the task and the depth of it? Remember, this is a question, and for you to comprehend it very well is for you to decode the task and talk about and determine the depth of your response. Is anybody there? You can raise your hand up, or you can just simply use your mic and go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. I want to answer this question.
Okay, all right. Oh, Brother
My
Ali.
name is Ima Iqbal.
Yes, you can go ahead, please. What do you think? Can you decode the task? All I want you to do,
Yeah.
I don't want you to tell me the answer. Just, I want you to
Yes.
decode the task. Then it determine the required extent or depth. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I feel the question is asking that we have to tell that what an astrologer what they how do they justify their act from Quran and Sunnah so that it seems to be acceptable to the Muslims. So we have to explain those points that they take up and present to Muslims so that Muslims feel that astrology or things related are acceptable and they don't recognize the kufr behind it.
This conclusion, is it from do you get that from the question? Look at the question very well. The question did not ask you to talk about Quran and Sunnah. The
No,
question
but they
simply,
ask that main
look at the
clause that they
question
add
again.
to their claim. Yeah,
Okay, so
the
what
question
is it?
says
Can you tell me the specific task now? What is the specific task?
that they give me a moment. All the astrologers. So the how do the Muslim astrologers make it look acceptable? So I have to put across the points that might be used by them to make it look permissible. So I have to go to those points which can be used by an astrologer. So I have to understand that what points an astrologer can pick to make this thing look acceptable. So obviously, as a Muslim, I would want it to be backed by the deen. So the astrologer is going to pick up something or just connect it to Quran and Sunnah, like from anywhere, so that a Muslim finds it acceptable. So I was thinking in that direction.
Okay, if you answer me that way, you are not going to pass the question.
Okay.
Okay, now
Then please
there is
explain
somebody
it.
here. There is Brother Ali Tonkara. Brother Ali, what can you say about this question, please?
Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Sister Iqbal. Barakallah fiqh. Naam.
Assalamu alaikum. Naam,
Wa alaikum assalam.
so the specific task are the two verbs, so highlight and briefly discuss. So this means that the response should not be too long because it said briefly.
No, you are talking about the debt. I want you to talk about the task. What is the task?
Also, the task is we have to find the specific element that the astrologer used to make the claim. So the claim is
does the question says element? What does the question says?
The question says so how did they make astrology look acceptable, although it's haram?
What is the task? Yeah, I understand a lot of students actually. That's why the very reason why we organized the session. Okay, you have tried, Brother Ali, Barakallahu Fiqh. There is somebody else here, Fatima. Fatima Yaqub, you can go ahead, please. Can you tell me?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I think what the lecturers want here is for you to just list those points and you explain them briefly.
Did the lecturer ask you point? Is there anything like point in plural?
No.
Point in plural? Then that you will be wrong then. All right, let me try another person. We have Brother Adam Kewulere. Please go ahead and tell me what is the demand, the task, the specific task of this question. Go ahead.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. So, from my own point of view, I think the specific task from this is what makes the astrologers make the astrology permissible, in contrary to what Islam teaches. We just have to understand and know what makes them acknowledge astrologies as something that is halal, and that is what they are trying to compare it with. The knowledge of the astrologers is just to know what will happen. I mean, the unknown to be known to them. I think that is the major point, and that is what we are going to emphasize on. Because in Islam,
so when you are writing, don't worry, brother. So when you are writing, what are you going to write on? What will be the task? What will be the task? What will be the task you are going to write on? Hello, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Can you tell me the task you are going to write on? Because you must be able to specify the task. If you cannot, then you are going to get the answer wrong. You might be thinking you are writing something good for the lecturer, but at the end of the day, you are going to miss it.
Yeah, the task is what makes the astrologers believe that it is part of Islam, and what makes them to confirm it to be an halal.
No. Not what made them believe. What makes them, the question, you remember, it is haram, but the so-called Muslim Amaraja make it look acceptable by one thing. And the question says, highlight and briefly discuss the main clause. I think that's okay for now. There are numbers of hands still up, like Muhammad Raja Ismail and Brother Ali again, and maybe it's the previous one. But anyway, I think I'm going to give response to that, and we'll go to the next question. Apology to others. Maybe I will call you, Brother Raji, for the next question, and other people can also make contribution, inshallah. But this is actually very simple. Look at what the question demands of you. This is the tax and debt. The task of the question says, highlight the main clause. Highlight the main clause. That is very simple. And discuss briefly based on the question domain. So what you need to do is to know what is the main clause. The astrologers added. All right. What is the main clause? Just one. Not plenty points. You are not to discuss maybe the misinterpreted numbers of verses of the Quran, all right, to justify the haram. The question is just simply highlight the main clause. The main clause. And they have a single main clause, actually, which they added to it to make it look halal. And that's a very simple thing. So if somebody have studied the textbook very well through mindful reading, the person might not miss this point. But if you have read the book, not through the mindful reading technique, then you are likely to miss this very point. And when examiners are asking questions, they want to test your understanding and they want to know how much you pay attention to details of the content you have read. So the task is so simple. It's just for you to highlight the main clause, just one. And after you highlight it, then you discuss it. And that's all. Hope it's clear. All right, that is in respect to the first question. I'm going to put another question here, which I want the first person to contribute is that brother Raji. Raji that raised his hand previously, and another person, if he didn't get it, then another person can also make input. All right, this is the second question here. This is the second question here. Can we all see it? The second question says, according to Dr. Bilal Phillips, mention and briefly discuss two claims made by some Sufis regarding what may occur in relation to Allah and religious obligations if a so-called wali, saint in bracket, reaches the fictional state of wusul, which is union with Allah. Can you tell me what is the task and depth of this question? Please take your time. The first person to talk will be Brother Raji, but if he's not ready to talk, then Brother Ali already raised his hands up, then I will allow him to talk. Brother Raji, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm here, but I need a moment.
Okay, all right. Please kindly check the question very well. All you need to pick out is for you to decode the task and tell me the depth. Brother Ali, you also raise your hand up. You can be pondering over the question. In case Brother Raji didn't get it, and Fatima Yaqub also raise her hand up. She can also be contemplating
Okay.
on the question.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yes. Wa alaikum assalam.
Well, let me give it a try, sir. With
Okay,
regards
go ahead.
to the second question, what we are to decode is to mention and also briefly discuss the two main claims with regards to the Sufis.
Is that all?
Well, with regards to their ways in regard to unforeseen situations.
No, there is nothing like unforeseen situation here.
I
That's
mean,
like
with
a
regards to,
contingency.
okay, in relation to, okay, like I said earlier, is to briefly mention, there are two claims and to briefly discuss it as well.
What are the claims? The claims of
Okay.
what? You have not mentioned the specific tax.
Okay.
So they are to discuss two claims.
Okay.
Which
Yes.
of the claims? Claims
Okay.
might be millions of claims. Which specific
Absolutely.
claims? Yeah.
Okay. With regards to the Sufis of what may occur in relation to Allah and the religious obligation as well.
So do you actually get the question? Can you actually write the answer correctly?
Okay, sir.
Can you actually write the answer correctly? Do you actually think you understand this question very well?
Yes, I do.
So what are you going to write? We are going to write your claim will be about what? Your first claim will be about what?
My first claim will be about the Sufi.
What will be the first Sufi claims you are going to write about? It will be about what?
Okay, I have to reflect on that.
Okay, all right, no problem. Let me go to the next student. Thank you, Brother Raji, for your input. Barakallah fiqh. We have Brother Ali here. Brother Ali, please go ahead. What do you have
Yes,
there for me?
So, like the brother said, we have to mention the two claims made by some Sufi in regard to in relation to Allah and religious obligation. If a so-called wali reaches the state, the fictional state of wusul, so the response will be the two claims made by the Sufi in regard to the relation to Allah and religious obligation and so on are, and then the first one will be that they are not obliged to pray anymore, etc.
That is in relation to Allah, in the relation to religious obligation?
Yes.
Which of them? You remember, yeah, you actually, you did better than Brother Raji, barakallah fiqh. Now, look at it. Look at it now. You are ready on it. You know, you want to decode the specific, all right? But you remember there is a general theme. The theme of the question is about wusul.
Yeah.
It's about, union with Allah, where the Sufis believe they reach a particular stage where they will have, that stage is called wusul. And once you have wusul, it means you have ittihad awil fana, all right, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The union is in between you and Allah. So now they have a claim they have claims they made in relation to this wusul, in respect to the personality of Allah and in respect to religious obligation. So you actually got the question better than the other one, than the Brother Roji, and may Allah reward every one of you. And there are other hands up, but I don't need to entertain the remaining one because Brother Ali did very well here. So the simple task and depth here is to mention and briefly discuss two claims. Number one, in relation to Allah, and number two, in relation to religious obligations. So now, if you have read your textbook very well, you will realize that Dr. Bilal in his work mentioned some of the claims the Sufi do say that once you reach the state of wusul, this is what happened to you between you and Allah. And in relation to religious obligation, this is what the saints will achieve. So if you actually understand the task and depth of this question very well, that is fantastic. But the problem remains if you have studied the content very well in such a way that you have read the content in a mindful manner, where you have correctly understood the content, and you also have a critical interrogation with the content while reading them. Thank you everyone for your input. All of you did very well, but I want to remind you that you have more than one, you have like 1 hour to answer the OEQ questions, for example. And in the OEQ's question that you have 1 hour, you can see the way I engage you now in trying to make you understand the task and depth of the question. So since you have 1 hour, don't rush to just answer the question. Sometimes you see the time used by some students to answer just 2 questions. Actually, they use maybe just 2 minutes, some not even up to 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And of course, it's not a problem to use 3 minutes to answer 2 questions. And of course, that 1 hour to me is actually too much, And but let's assume that you have been, and you are not, let's assume you have been given 1 hour to answer these 2 questions. It means that the university have provided an atmosphere where you need to really think very well, critically, to understand what the demand of the question it's all about. All right, please take your time when you are answering the questions. Try to understand it very well. And I realize that there are some pitfalls while students are making some input, and I expected that, so I already planned for that. These are 2 pitfalls to avoid anytime you are answering questions, maybe OEQ questions, quiz, and of course that is just like 10 minutes. You have to avoid it also. And the same with the assignment questions. The first pitfalls to avoid is differentiate between content and task. Content versus task. If you look at the first question, if the student is not careful about paying attention to the demand of the question, it will not be able to decode the task. It will not, he or she will just look at the content of the question and say, oh, okay, they want me to talk about astrology. Then he or she will start to talk about astrology is haram in Islam because, and that is not what the question is all about. The person answered based on the background of the question. What the background of question is doing for you is to bring the question close to you. It is not there for, digression. No, not at all. It is to create a background for your understanding, because when you are talking about astrology as a topic, there are a lot of subtopics and masail and issues under it. So when the question has a background, it's trying to, contextualize the whole question for you. So that is what a lot of students don't understand, and they will just start writing about astrology generally without even thinking about the specific task they are asked to do, which is to highlight and discuss the main clause. The same thing to the second question. The student might not pay attention. The person will just start talking about what the Sufi says, all right? Or the person might start talking about the union with Allah, which is mysticism. The person might start talking about mysticism is haram in Sharia because there is no evidence for that in the Quran and Sunnah, and it is not practiced like that. And that's not the task you are requested to do. So you must be able to differentiate between the content of the question and the task of the question. This is the first pitfall to avoid. What you are looking for is the task, not the content. Number two is you should avoid haste. You should avoid haste. And I've mentioned, this, made mention of this slightly before, that you have 1 hour, and that's a very, quality time for you to ponder over the question very well, the code, the task, and also the depth of what the question demands from you. So you don't haste when you are doing anything as Muslims. Of course, you work within the time you have been provided for, but you don't need to just, write anything and just drop it for the examiner. There is a narration from the Prophet ﷺ from Anas bin Malik, although the sanad is a bit questionable, where the Prophet ﷺ has been reported to have said, Al-ajalatu min ash-shaytan. Haste is from shaitan. So there are some things we don't need to haste when doing that. And you have, quality 1 hour. Please make sure you make use of the time you have been provided. All right, it's a beautiful time with you, students. Barakallah fiqh. We can now go to the next slide where we look at the summary. Then we have a question and answer, if any. So we're going to quickly run a summary of what we have learned today before entertaining any question. The summary of it is what you see on this image here on the screen. You remember the core goal is about higher performance, and for you to have higher performance, you require higher performance is the core goal. And when we are talking about higher performance, it has to do with two things. The first is academic competence, which is a sub goal of the core goal, and is about the learning input. And the second part of what make higher performance, academic higher performance, is higher grade or high grade, which is a sub goal as well. So when you add the first sub goal to the second one, academic competence plus higher grade, then you achieve what is called higher performance. But how do we achieve? What skill do we require to achieve academic competence? The skill is called mindful reading. And I said mindful reading requires two commitments from your end. The first is al-faham, correct understanding, and the second one is al-istifham al-idraki, which is critical interrogation with why and how. As for the higher grades, which is the learning output, you need to understand how to comprehend questions. So you require a skill, which is question comprehension procedures. And these require two steps or two procedures. The question comprehension techniques require two procedures. Number one is to decode the task, the specific task, and the second one is to determine the depth and the extent of the tax you have decoded from the question. This is just the summary of this session. Now we can now take a question if there is any question, and we try to provide relevant answer to you, inshallah. So if you have question, please make sure you raise your hand up. When you do so, I will view it and I will call you one by one if there is any question, if there is any question at all. All right, we have Sister Samim here, mashallah, barakallah. We have Brother Ali Tonkara. So let me start with Sister Samim. Go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. So, what I want to ask is, do you really want us to only discuss the brief points related to the questions, or if you you want like pertaining to hadiths and Quranic verses also should be there in the answer?
This is actually very simple. Remember, what did I mention to you in respect to question comprehension techniques? What are the two procedures you need to do? Can you tell me? Sister Semim, can you tell me?
Yeah.
What is the two procedures? What's the first one?
First was we have to identify the task.
Okay.
In the question.
The second one?
And a second one. And the first one is interrogation. The question, we have to interrogate the question.
No,
clearly.
no. The first one is to identify the tax, decode the tax, and the second one is to determine the depth. Yes. Okay. So if you are asked the question and the lecturer or the examiner did not ask you to back up your claims with evidences, with textual evidences, that might not be necessary to start.
Didn't get you, sir. Sir, what?
Dr. Durujay, we cannot hear you. Everyone, please give it a minute. Maybe there is a disruption.
Hello, am I still there? Can you hear me?
Yes, doctor. Now you're audible.
Oh, okay, all right. So, so that's all about the question, Sister Semim. If you are not asked about, if you are not asked about providing an evidence from the Quran and Sunnah, then you don't need to, to bother yourself trying to provide evidence from Quran and Sunnah. But if you feel you need to do that, then you can go ahead. But if you are not asked specifically, I don't think any lecturer needs to penalize you for that. All right. I hope it's clear. Barakallahu fiqh. Another person that wanted to ask question. I'm seeing only one person. Hasna Wubi.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Ustad, I'm just asking a question. On a personal level, I've been a mindful reader all my life, but I was very slow at reading, because of reading mindfully. That's not a big deal, I suppose. But the other question I want to mention is like when you're given an essay question and like an assignment and you're decoding it and figuring out the depth of the question, like if you feel you have a lot more to say, is it a good idea to try to condense that and summarize that, or do you just answer the question as they've asked in a simple fashion?
All right. If I try to make perfect sense from your question, Sister Hasna Barakallah Fik, you are trying to ask, if you are asked a specific question and you think you have a lot, from your hand, do you need to do more than what you are asked for? Or you are to ask, you are required to answer? Is that the question? Did I get it correctly, please?
Yeah, like should you like really try to um can make your words more concise and so that you're really putting a lot of information in the answer, or should you just answer the question as they've given it, as they've
It's simple.
requested?
You answer the question based on the task you are required to do. All right. If
Okay.
the answer requires that, if the depth of it is not specified, as I said, you have to decode the depth from the context of the question. For
Okay.
example, if you are writing an assignment question that you ask for, the depth is always specified, where the lecturer will say you should write the content should not be more than 1,000 or 1,200 words for undergraduate, and for masters it should not be more than 1,500 words, and like that. So that is the depth of that is specified by giving you the word limit. That is in respect to the assignment question you ask. But if it is not assignment question, if it OEQ part B, it is better to answer the question very brief, but make sure your answer is correct.
Yeah.
If a response is not correct and is lengthy, like writing a epistle, is as useless as anything. But if the response is very correct, despite it is very concise, then you are going to have a very, very good mark, if not the whole full mark. So
Yeah.
that is the way to go. Barakallah fiqh. I hope
Yeah.
I've answered your question.
Brother, so I want to ask you a question. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I can't remember right now. Just
You still have another question, Sister Hasna?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, please take your time.
Alhamdulillah.
Do we have other people, another person who want to ask question? Sister Asna, you can take your time and bring up your question. Let me attend to you. Okay.
One moment, please. 1 moment.
It's okay. It's okay.
Sister Snipe, you are comfortable, you can use the chat box and write your question in the chat box as well.
Yeah, thank you, Sister Hajra, for that information. If you have anyone among the students here who is not comfortable using the mic, male or female, you can use the chat box and just drop your question there. I will check, inshallah. Thank you, Sister Hajra, for that update. Okay, Sister Asna. Wa alaikum assalam. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, brother. What I learned in my Sharia studies is, and at university previously, is that a lot of like what I learned in Sharia studies is that like looking for similarities and differences, like compare and contrast, that they're very important, like basic ways that like for scholarly thinking, and I'm just interested that you said why and how when you were talking about reading
Critical integration.
Reading. So repeat that.
Go ahead.
Yeah. You said why and how. So I'm just trying to think that it's a little bit different from compare and contrast and similarities and differences, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah, the issue of comparing. Okay, if I get you very well, you are trying to ask question about, please, let me just rephrase this for you. If it's correct, do let me know, then I can answer right away. You are trying to compare between what you have learned previously in your university knowledge studies before that they talk about, comparing and and other sort of activities like that. Is it related to the issue of how and why? Is that what you're trying to ask?
Yeah. Like I'm saying, like it's more like similarities and differences. Is that the
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let me just help you out. Barakallah fiqh. I see you're struggling to put up your thought. That's fine. But let's look at it this way. Sometimes if the question is all about compare, highlight, discuss, what's the differences between this and that. If it is in terms of questioning, it's just for you to decode what you to do. So if what you are asked to do is to mention the difference between A and B, or to compare A to B, then you have to do that. But if it is in the process of your reading, then you are reading, then you want to do some critical interrogation, and maybe you have read a particular concept A, and there is another concept which is concept B, then you want to compare the two concepts because they seem very similar, all right? And you want to compare the two, then you can compare them by asking the how and why. That will make you understand very well the difference between the two. It's actually an issue of conception. So you'll be able to see how A, is different from B, and how, when you compare their what is called attributes, or was it khosiyat in Arabic. The whole conception of A, how is different from B at the end of the day. So if it is in the context of reading, you can still use the how and why to learn about the differences, comparison, and the rest like that. Barakallahu fiqh. I hope that's helpful enough, Sister Hasna. Barakallahu fiqh. All right. There is no any hands up, Sister Hajra, and I think the information have been passed. And
Brother, there is
I think.
just one question in the chat box.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Let
No
me go
worries.
through it. Okay, this is from Abadia Amino Ali. Please, my problem is that I can't comprehend very well while reading my modules. At times, I watch my videos, but at the end of the day, I will score low grade in my modules. But it's not applicable on all courses, maybe some of the courses. So please what advice will you give me? Jazakallah khair. All right, the same advice is what I will tell you to go back to. Remember, what you need now is that you are reading a content and you are not comprehending it. So that means the learning input is not achieved. And you cannot achieve learning input except through mindful reading. And I've mentioned to you in mindful reading, try to do two things. Number one is to understand the content. If you are not understanding the content, the problem might be maybe your English is not good. And which is the prerequisite of joining IU, because most of the content I use are delivered in English language. So you might need to work on your English language to understand what each word denotes. That's why I said there is need for semantic understanding of the content. So if you don't understand what the whole thing is talking about, then you have problem. But if your English is okay, because you typing this type of English is a good one. And what might be challenge is that if there is a particular concept that you don't understand, please reach out to your lecturer. And I mentioned that when you are reading, to achieve mindful reading, you require two commitment, which is critical understanding and correct understanding and critical interrogation. And I said something at the end of the day. If you're having challenge with any of them, because you must understand, then you need to go back to your lecturer and ask question. There is this concept. I don't understand anything. I can give you an example. A student reached out to me and said she read complete one page and a full paragraph of the page. She said, I don't understand anything about this. And the person can speak good English and write good English. But the concept is actually a bit mixed up somehow. So I have to clarify that to the student in just a few lines, and she was very happy with that. So the point is this. That is why you have lecturers, and that is what they have been paid for. They have been paid for to provide guidance, right, and clarification to students. So if you are reaching out to your lecturer through the avenues, all right, you have been provided, Ask Teacher Forum and the rest, and the lecturer is not responding, is a different thing entirely. And because of these, that is why I allow students who are taking my own course to reach out to me on WhatsApp at any time, even outside my office hours. I don't. I allow students to reach out to me even outside the office hours, anytime. Any student asks me question, even if I'm sleeping, I wake up back, then I will respond to the student. So always make sure you reach out to your lecturer. It is your right, that you have while studying with IOU. So if your lecturer is not responding to you, then you can take it up entirely. Hope is clear, Sister Badia. I mean Adi. Hope that is helpful enough. All right, okay, and I think that's the last question we have here. Barakallahu fikum. Yes, all right, so Jazakallah khairan, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless every one of you. All right, is there any question again? What am I seeing here? One new one. Oh, okay, it's well clear. Okay, fine. What is this? How to retain what you have read for a longer time. This is from Aisha. How to retain what you have read for a longer time. It is very simple. The secret is to do dhikr of it. Remember this point again. Dhikr of it. Dhikr of it. We all know dhikr. Dhikr is for you to do remembrance, just like we do the remembrance of Allah. What will make you not to forget Allah for longer time is that you constantly mention Allah or ponder over His, different types of dhikr involved. We have three types of dhikr. We have a dhikr tadabburi, we have a reflective dhikr, we have a dhikr qawli, we have verbal dhikr by saying subhanallah, subhanallah. Reflective dhikr is to be pondering over the ayat al-kawniyah, like pondering over the creation of the heavens and the earth and yourself and everything around you. It also involves pondering over the ayat of Quran. That is reflective dhikr. As for dhikr al-qawli, this is for you to say subhanallah and alhamdulillah. That is not the point here. And also the last one, which is dhikr al-fa'ili, like you do salah. That's not the dhikr here. The dhikr I intend here is the dhikr at-tadabburi. That is the reflective dhikr. When you read any information, fresh information is going to be stored in your short-term memory, and it's not going to go into the long-term memory until you do the dhikr for long time. Look at the word short time and long time. So the short-term memory is just you just read in a short time and that's all. It can disappear over time. But if you want the information to remain, to retain it in your mind, then you need to do the dhikr, and that's all. That is just the psychological and way of retaining information from Sharia point of view. However, scholars of Islam we popularly tell students, other than these human agency in trying to retain information, which is the one I mentioned to you, to do the care of that information again and again. There is something that you still need again. You stay away from sin, especially when you are studying Sharia. All right, Imam Shafi'i rahmatullah alayhi has mentioned, and one of the things that make him, all right, though Imam Shafi'i is not the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but that is true from tajriba, from you realize from experience, you realize that when you sin a lot, Allah is likely to take away the knowledge that you know away from you, especially if it has to do with. You remember, there is no one of us except that we sin day and night. All right, meaning we should not be sinning against Allah, every time now and then, and we should reduce much of our sin and do tawbah a lot. So, but the practical way outside the spiritual part of it, which I've mentioned, is for you to do a dhikri at-tadabburi, is for you to do dhikr at-tadabburi. Now, somebody is asking for my number here, Abdul Latif. Sister Aisha, I hope that answered your question. All right, thank you. Barakallah fiqh. Abdullah Abiodun is asking for my email, WhatsApp number. And if you are my student studying Aqidah from me, you will know that for sure. But if you are not, then obviously you will need that. So I'm going to drop the official email here. As a student of IOU, you can reach out to me And I'll also put my number if you need any guidance, inshallah, maybe in respect to this. I'm trying to drop that. .gm, this should be in singular. All right, so that's my mail. Then my number is this. 602-832. You can reach out to me, inshallah, if you need any guidance in respect to this. All right. Okay, the last one here from Mabruk, not the last one, Mabruk Yusuf Saleh, he said, please, if a person is finding difficult in English, please, what would he or she do? That's all about language. And although I'm not a language teacher, I'm a Sharia teacher, but it's simple because we learned both Arabic and English. Arabic is not my second language. English is my second language, and Arabic can be my second language and English my third language. Or you can call the two English, but we studied them, and so about language is actually very simple. Is to understand the words. All right, you study words in your head and understand the usage of the word, and you continue to practice. So what make a lot of people to know a particular language is not just because they have a lot of words in their repository, in their mind, but because they practice them. So in Arabic, in teaching Arabic as a second language, for example, we do say the collections of words, English words you have memorized or you have in your mind, they should not be khamila, they should not be inactive. They have to be al-halvadu al-nashito. They have to be very active. So if you want them to be active, then you use them a lot so that you don't forget. If a word you are learning a new word, memorize it correctly, know the meaning, and use it appropriately time to time. That's what I can say for now, anyway. All right, Sister Samim. All right, thank you for your point, Barakallahu Fik. Then the last one here from Nadim Owaisi. Jazakumullah khairan, Dr. The session. Oh, okay. It's okay. Any other one again? All right. Okay. Barakallahu Fik, Jazakumullah khairan. Very happy reception. It's okay. It's good having you people, and of course, the most important thing that I love it's being interactive. I think Sister Hasna is raising her hand up again.
Yeah, Sheikh.
Please.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
All right, so you are going to be the last person to ask question now. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know. Sheikh, I thought the best ways to remember knowledge like this, what you've said about dhikr, is a really good idea. I'm really happy with that. So happy with that. Like you reminded me from many, many years ago. But I thought the best way to retain knowledge is to teach it. And I thought another beneficial thing is to use your five senses, like writing things down, like making like remembering by using like like looking at like using the pen, so you're feeling the pen, and like looking at the words and looking like the action of writing, and by teaching.
Okay, if I'm getting you very well, Sister Hasna, Barakallah Fik, you are trying to mention that other than using the dhikr or tadabburi, the reflective dhikr, where you continue to chant the content of what you have read again and again, there are other ways where you can also retain information. And what you have just said is also good through teaching it. And in fact, when we are talking about, we call it awamil al-dabit, awamil of dabt in Arabic, logic, and also in education. There is something they call awamil of dabt, the element of having proficiency of anything you read. So one of it is that the highest part of it is to teach. The highest part of it is to teach it. All right. The highest part of it is to teach it, because once you are teaching, do you know what you are doing? You are actually doing dhikr. At the end of the day, at the end of the day, it's all dhikr tadabburi. Because when you are
Yeah,
teaching students, 1 + 1 is equal to 2, or you are teaching them Akida, and you are teaching them about what is called tawakkul, and you are saying again and again. Once you say it again and again, what you are simply doing is dhikr. So the key actually to learning is dhikr at the end of the day. Thank you so much, Sister Hasna. Barakallah
but
fiqh,
also, Sheikh, I
input.
just want to mention, if
Mhm.
people are learning a language, when I was learning a language, I would do dhikr of like the numbers and the letters
Mhm.
and that was really beneficial.
MashaAllah.
جزاك
MashaAllah.
الله. السلام عليكم.
Barakallah fiqh, yani Sister Hasna. Barakallah fiqh. All right, Sister Hajra, thank you so much for organizing the session. Thanks for attending, every one of you. Barakallahu fiqum. I'm really happy to have everyone here, and I hope this session has been very beneficial. It has been, and I hope by this, inshallah, your learning experience in IOU will be more facilitated. And I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ease your learning, part for you, and make it a path, to paradise for every one of us. Barakallahu fikum. اللهم اقسم لنا من خشيتك ما يحول بيننا وبين معاصيك ومن طاعتك ما تبلغنا به جنتك ومن اليقين ما تهون به علينا مصاحب الدنيا ومتعنا بأسماهنا وأبصارنا وقوتنا ما أحييتنا واجعله لوارث منا واجعل ثارنا على من ظلمنا وانصرنا على من عادانا ولا تجعل مصيبتنا في ديننا ولا تجعل الدنيا أكبر همنا ولا مبلغ علمنا ولا تسلط علينا من لا يرحمنا. بارك الله فيكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Mention Allah or ponder over it.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.